Welcome back to Movies Recapped. Today I will show you an American Christian drama film from 2014 titled Heaven is for Real. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and enjoy. The movie starts in Lithuania, with a young girl starting to paint a portrait. We are introduced to a man named Todd, a humble pastor, a high school wrestling coach, a volunteer firefighter, and a mechanic. He is installing a garage door and accepts carpets as the payment. Todd lives a simple life, driving an old car and in a remote town. Later, Todd goes to the fire station and meets up with his fellow firefighters, and they all start joking around with him about his carpets. His friend Jay is concerned that he should be accepting money instead of things such as carpets since he is not doing well financially. He is a busy man with 5 jobs. Soon after leaving the fire station, he reports to his high school where he works as a coach. On his way home, he passes by the cemetery and puts some flowers on a grave, and heads home. As soon as he arrives on his compound, church hymns can be heard from a distance. His wife Sonia is practicing with some choir women in preparation for the next church service. Colton, Todd's son, gets irritated by the noise and goes to play outside. There he meets his dad. They talk, joke around, and even imitate a howling dog from a distance. Almost immediately, Burp receives a call from the hospital. A couple from his church wants Todd to pray for their sick father, who asked for a pastor. He arrives at the hospital in the company of Colton and prays for the man. Colton, who watches his dad at a distance, plays along with his father. Back at home, Sonia is in bed reading stories to her kids, Colton and his sister, Cassie, and puts them to bed. While Todd is kissing his son goodnight, Colton informs him that he prayed for the sick man they visited at the hospital. Sonia is emotional when she retrieves a case filled with baby clothes and she seems to go back in memory. She joins her husband in the table room for a relaxing chat. Sonia, despite their struggle with money for family support, acknowledges that her husband is a good man. She jokes around asking him not to howl around like a dog next time she is hosting a hymn practice session, promising to whip him like a dog. The next morning, Todd's family is in church and Sonia is leading a choir of young kids, including Colton, while Todd and her daughter watch in the audience. He goes on to preach about faith and courage-based bedtime stories that he heard his wife read to his children the previous night. Todd preaches about the lion, bear, and unicorn in a cave story. After the service, Sonia approaches Rosa and gifts her a beautiful little dress for her baby as Todd catches up with his friend, asking him not to miss out on the game. While playing softball, Todd falls and breaks his leg and is quickly attended to as they wait for the ambulance. Despite having a broken leg, he manages to attend the next service and even preach. However, while preaching he gets a spasm and screams in pain, claiming his back hurts. Some of the church members and his wife rush to help him out. In the hospital, the doctor informs Todd that kidney stones are back and that is what caused him to have a spasm. He recommends painkillers and lots of water, to be able to pass out the kidney stones. The next morning, Jay visits his friends and meets Sonia on the doorstep heading to the park with Colton so as not to hear his father screaming of pain. On entering the house, Jay hears Todd screaming as he passes kidney stones. Even though in pain, they still manage to make some jokes. Due to Burp's health challenge, the church opts to get another preacher as a substitute, but only a few people show up for the service and the committee is concerned as to when Todd will be able to preach again. Meanwhile, Mrs. Burp suggests that the family should take a small family getaway to Denver. Reluctantly, Todd is convinced after she promises to do something for him in return. The family leaves for Denver and they sing along together for fun as they drive. They even sing "We Will Rock You." Apparently it is Colton's favorite song. After arriving in Denver, they visit a butterfly and spider sanctuary. The family is seen enjoying their vacation, plating with butterflies. Colton's sister Cassie is given a sticker for being able to hold a tarantula, and Colton also wants a sticker but he is too afraid to hold the spider. On the way home, both Cassie and Colton become sick. Days later, Cassie has recovered, but Colton's fever is still rising. He is quickly taken to the medical center. Tests are conducted and doctors recommend emergency surgery due to a ruptured appendix. They also tell the Burpos to prepare for the worst. While Colton is on the operating room table, Sonia is calling friends asking for prayer while Todd is in the hospital chapel. There, Todd yells at God for testing his faith by putting him through so much misery and accepting it, but trying to take his son is going too far. Later, after what the doctors describe as a miracle, Colton survives the operation, and when he wakes up, he tells his dad that he is no longer afraid of anything and wants to hold the spider, so Todd and Colton return to Denver just to do that and is even given the sticker. At home, Sonia asks how the trip was and Todd informs her about what Colton told him. Bills are piling up. Sonia is stressed up as a result. They argue on which bills to take care of first. Colton is listening and insists that they have to pay the doctor because he saw him save his life. While being put to bed, Cassie tells his dad that her brother is weird as he says that Jesus has a horse. When he asks him about Jesus' horse and its color, he describes it vividly as if he had seen it, and it is at this point that he confirms that he was in heaven. Todd pillow talks with his wife about their son's claim of having been to heaven. However, Sonia is not convinced and comments that Colton has a beautiful imagination, and she retires to bed. The following day, Burp takes his son out for a milkshake to learn more about his experience in heaven. Colton openly narrates that he was alone, not scared, and that he saw the church door, opened it, and saw something wonderful, angels singing to him. He even requested them to sing "We Will Rock You." He further narrates that Jesus approached him and asked if he knows who he was and whether he was afraid, but he was not, as nobody wanted to hurt him. Jesus then held Colton's hand and took him to meet some other people. Todd Burp decides to visit Dr. Slater to discuss his son's situation. Unfortunately, Dr. Slater is not much of a believer and explains that some people in difficult situations result in a state of bliss and/or peace to cope. Upset, Todd leaves, but before exiting the door, he asks the doctor a rhetorical question about what happens if someone encounters something unusual or irrational. Unsatisfied with answers given by the doctor, Todd visits his friend Jay at work. He informs him about the situation with Colton, claiming that he went to heaven. Before Jay could advise him, they receive a call about an ongoing fire. Todd is confused about what to preach the next Sunday, but Jay tells him to preach from his heart like he always do. The following Sunday he tries a different preaching strategy and opens the floor for any questions. The congregation asks several questions regarding his son's situation and experiences. And Todd tells them that Colton visited heaven while in the theater, but everyone seems to not believe how that is possible, being that Colton did not die. Burp and his wife are basking on top of a fire truck while he enjoys a Coke as the kids play inside the vehicle. Todd receives a call from a journalist who wants to interview Colton about his experiences, and Sonia doesn't seem to like the idea. However, the journalist visits them and starts interviewing Colton about heaven, which upsets his mother Sonia. Colton even brings new information to light, stating that Jesus had markers on his feet and hands. Colton could feel that the journalist, among other people, did not believe him, but he hopes that his dad does. Sonia gets upset when Todd allows the journalist to take a picture of him and Colton. The next morning, Colton's story is published in the newspaper and the church committee becomes even more concerned about Todd's situation. Nancy calls Jay and they arrange a meeting to discuss the way forward with Todd's situation. At the cafe, some of his fellow firemen tease Todd. At school, Cassie beats up two boys after they started picking on her due to Colton's story, and the teacher calls to inform them about the incident. But Todd is pleased when he learns that she did it cause they were picking on his brother. Unable to sleep, Todd goes to the kids' rooms and he and Colton discuss heaven. Todd's asks him how Jesus looks, but he finds it hard to describe. We get to know that Jesus does not look like he is portrayed in the books and Bible, and that he has bluish-green eyes. The next morning, Sonia and Todd are chatting, but it is clear she still does not believe his son's story. Burp receives a fire call and leaves. Colton gets a flashback of his trip to heaven. He is seen sitting on Jesus' laps and gets to meet a young girl who can't seem to stop hugging her. Todd and his wife go on a date that evening. They discuss their struggle with money, and his wife tells him that the church committee is worried and would like to meet up with him for a chat. Todd attends the meeting with the church committee as the church members are losing faith in him. They are also curious to know the future of the church, as Colton's trip to heaven claims has disturbed a lot of people. Nancy claims the whole story sounds like some fairy tale, and that heaven and hell are nothing but concepts that are used to control and frighten people. Todd is given a week to rejuvenate and recover from the issue. In the company of his son, Todd visits the hospital to clear part of the bill and to ask for an extension of the deadline. Meanwhile, Colton heads to the wards and tells his father he needs to tell them. Referring to the sick, he approaches a young sickly boy and lets him know it is alright and no one will ever hurt him in heaven. Todd, who is now more than confused about his son, decides to research near-death experiences. Sonia is upset to learn that her husband is obsessed with Colton's situation, being that it is what kept him up all night and it is disrupting their family. Todd attends a burial for the man they rescued from his burning house in the company of Colton. He gets a flashback about the burial of his friend's son, who was killed while on duty. While walking in the cemetery, Colton tells his dad that he met Todd's grandfather in heaven and that he is a nice man. At home, Todd shows his son a picture of Pop, asking if he is the man that he saw in heaven, but Colton claims that no one wears glasses or is old in heaven. Todd retrieves a photo of his grandfather when he was young and without glasses. Colton confirms that he is the man he met in heaven. Todd later informs his wife that Colton saw his grandfather, but Sonia is a tough woman. She still doesn't believe in Colton's stories, upsetting Todd. Later in the night, Todd goes to church and talks to God help him. In the morning, Todd visits the grave of Nancy's son Jacob, to put flowers on his gravestone. Nancy gets surprised to find out that it was Todd that always left flowers on his son's grave and not Jay. The two talk and she is upset with herself as she was bitter towards Todd the previous day during the committee meeting. However, she confesses that she wasn't mad at Todd nor his son, but at God for letting his son die, whereas Todd's son gets to live and visit heaven. Todd comforts her that God loves everyone equally and that he loved her son as much as he loves his son. Back at home, Colton tells his mom that he did not know that he had another sister and that she saw her in heaven. Sonia is confused and emotionally breaks down when Colton tells her she had a baby die in her tummy, something he wouldn't know not unless he met her in heaven. Shocked by the news, she asks for more details about the other girl and he clearly describes her, saying she looks like Cassie and has her mommy's hair. This turns out to be the missing piece that confirms indeed Colton was in heaven, and Sonia finally believes it too. Todd then receives a call to confirm claims about his son seeing Jesus and he invites them to his church the next Sunday. That Sunday the church is packed full of believers and journalists who all want to hear from the horse's mouth. Once again Todd can preach from his heart as he used to before Colton fell sick. He clearly articulates through the experiences of Colton and relates them to people's daily lives experiences, including a series of events. He explains that God crushed his pride and opened his heart to love, and he is always there for anyone who feels alone. Everyone in the church is moved by the service. Colton gets another glimpse of heaven, whereas Nancy gets to see her son smiling in heaven. Later, Todd is watching a video of a girl online who is painting a picture of a man's face. She had the same experience as his son in heaven. Colton is shocked once he sees the picture the little girl painted and confirms that it is Jesus. Sonia then takes her husband's hand and pulls him out to the field, while holding a baby's sweater, and informs him that she is pregnant. They hug and kiss in happiness. We are then fully introduced to the girl behind the picture in her drawing. The girl we saw at the beginning of the movie was painting a picture of Jesus as she saw him in heaven. Please like and subscribe, and click the bell icon to get notifications about new movie recaps.